In the year 1960, America was a nation caught between hope and uncertainty. The Cold War cast a long shadow over the country, and every citizen felt the weight of the world's tensions. The election that year wasn't just a choice between two men. It was a choice about the future of the nation, about courage, character, and the way the United States would define itself on the global stage. On one side, there was John F. Kennedy, a young senator from Massachusetts, charismatic, eloquent, and seen by many as the face of a new generation. On the other side, Richard Nixon, the seasoned vice president under Dwight Eisenhower, experienced, hard-working, and known for his toughness and resolve. Families across America gathered around their black and white television sets. For many, it would be the first time they could see their leaders in action, not just read their words in the newspaper, but watch them breathe, gesture, and argue. This was more than a debate. It was the dawn of a new era in politics.
As the debate concluded, Americans rushed to their telephones and radios to share impressions. Newspaper offices scrambled to analyze public opinion, and pundits offered their perspectives. Some noted that Nixon's detailed policy arguments appealed to those focused on substance. Others observed that Kennedy's calm, composed, and charismatic presence won over viewers who were watching. Across the nation, families discussed what they had seen. The debate had been more than words on policy. It had been a demonstration of personality, confidence, and leadership. Television had allowed citizens to witness character in action. This moment marked a turning point in political history, as image and presence became central to how Americans evaluated their leaders.
The 1960 debates between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy changed politics forever. They highlighted the importance of media, presence, and charisma in leadership. They showed that history is not only written by policies and speeches, but by the way leaders present themselves to the world. Kennedy's success in the debates foreshadowed the growing importance of television and image in campaigns. Nixon learned lessons about media preparation that would shape his future political strategies. For generations of Americans, the debates offered more than entertainment. They offered insight into the character of those seeking to lead the nation. That night, television became a mirror, reflecting not just policy, but the essence of leadership itself. And it set a precedent. In the modern age, how leaders communicate, carry themselves, and connect with the public is as vital as the policies they propose. As we look back on this historic moment, we see the power of presence, the impact of media, and the timeless lesson that leadership is both performance and principle, a combination that continues to shape elections to this day.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy, born into a wealthy political family, had charisma that seemed effortless. He moved through life with the grace of privilege, but behind the charm lay a relentless drive to prove himself. Harvard-educated, a decorated war hero, and a senator with a vision for the future, JFK represented youth, optimism, and the promise of change. Stories from his early campaigns spoke of a man who could captivate a room with a single smile or a well-placed anecdote, who understood the power of words and image as much as policy. Richard Nixon, by contrast, was the epitome of experience. A former congressman and vice president, he had navigated the complex world of domestic and foreign politics with determination. Nixon had faced intense scrutiny and was no stranger to public criticism, yet he carried a reputation for resilience and intellect. He was known for his meticulous preparation, his work ethic, and his ability to engage in complex policy debates with clarity and precision. But there was more than politics at play. Nixon's campaign had been grueling. He had just recovered from a serious illness and had been traveling tirelessly across the country, shaking hands, making speeches and attending countless rallies. He arrived at the debate weary, physically exhausted, and facing the bright lights and intense scrutiny of television for the first time. Meanwhile, Kennedy appeared calm, composed, and confident. He understood the power of television, the unspoken language of presence and appearance. For the first time in history, millions of Americans would witness politics not just in substance, but in style.
Television was transforming politics. For decades, candidates had relied on print newspapers, radio broadcasts, and town hall meetings to communicate their messages. But the advent of televised debates changed everything. Suddenly, Americans were not only hearing arguments, they were seeing them. Every gesture, every expression, every pause could influence public perception. The 1960 presidential election was closely contested. The nation was still in the grip of Cold War anxieties, and voters wanted leaders who could navigate the treacherous waters of international diplomacy. Fear of communism lingered, economic concerns weighed heavily, and the youth of the nation hungered for inspiration. Television offered a window into leadership, in a way the printed page never could. Families gathered in living rooms across the country. Children sat on the floor, parents leaned forward in anxious anticipation. Some listened on the radio, unaware of the visual dimension. And while polls showed the race was tight, no one truly knew who would emerge victorious after this historic first debate. The stakes were monumental, and history itself seemed to hold its breath.
The debate studio was a hive of tension. Bright lights illuminated the candidates, casting stark shadows across the polished floors. Cameras whirred, microphones waited to catch every word, and unseen producers signaled the time and flow of the program. Nixon arrived tired and under pressure, his suit slightly rumpled from travel, his body language tense. Kennedy, on the other hand, exuded calm. He understood the nuances of television, posture, facial expression, and the subtle art of presence. Every detail mattered, from how he gestured to how he made eye contact with the camera. As they sat on stage, the audience hushed. This was more than a debate. It was a test of character, intellect, and charisma. Millions of Americans were about to witness leadership in its purest, most visible form. The first word spoken, the first glance exchanged, would set the tone for decades of political strategy to come. The moderator posed the first question. Nixon spoke about domestic policy, outlining plans for civil rights, economic growth, and government accountability. But the bright studio lights reflected off his face, and his fatigue was visible to viewers. Every gesture, every pause, communicated more than the words themselves. Kennedy responded with a measured, confident tone. He leaned slightly forward, making eye contact with the camera, his voice calm but persuasive. "We need a government that inspires hope, that moves the country forward," he said, his words resonating not only through sound but through presence. The debate moved through foreign policy, civil rights, and economic issues. Nixon was precise, experienced, and knowledgeable. Kennedy was composed, articulate, and poised. As the minutes passed, television viewers noticed the subtle differences. On the radio, many believed Nixon had the edge. But for those watching on TV, Kennedy appeared confident and energetic, while Nixon seemed weary and tense. The camera captured every micro-expression, Nixon's perspiration, the tightness of his jaw, the careful pacing of his words. Kennedy's relaxed demeanor, calm smile, and confident gestures made him seem more natural on screen. It was a moment that would forever highlight the power of television in politics, demonstrating that image, presentation, and charisma could sway perception as much as policy. As the debate concluded, Americans rushed to their telephones and radios to share impressions. Newspaper offices scrambled to analyze public opinion, and pundits offered their perspectives. Some noted that Nixon's detailed policy arguments appealed to those focused on substance. Others observed that Kennedy's calm, composed, and charismatic presence won over viewers who were watching. Across the nation, families discussed what they had seen. The debate had been more than words on policy. It had been a demonstration of personality, confidence, and leadership. Television had allowed citizens to witness character in action. This moment marked a turning point in political history, as image and presence became central to how Americans evaluated their leaders.